So today we'll be talking about Koi versus NRG, the first game that happened in the lock-in tournament, and it's good to be back. And we're going to start off with round number 2 here, because in round number 2, NRG lost the first pistol round here on Haven, and well, they went on, as you can see here, to force. Now, this is playing with the new Stinger patch. So they are on the attacking side. They planted the spike the round before, and you can see that this is the kind of buy that you can now get, right? And essentially, all we've changed is from the last patch is that these full shields have gone to light shields instead with the Stinger changes pretty much. You see we've got like full util here essentially for everyone who's got Stinger lights. So if you are going to force, it seems like this is kind of the way that you are now going to do so, and in my opinion this is still good enough to win. And I still think teams should be forcing, personally. But what we're going to see here is kind of a bit baffling, to be honest, from Trex here, who had a really good series overall and played it phenomenally, for most of this series, but he's going to make a very odd decision here. So he's going to be here on A alone, right, to start off the round with Sova, and he's going to, do a little dart from down here, ping it off the wall. It's going to land here in A lobby, all, very normal stuff, right? And what's going to happen is this dart gets just shot just there, but you see that his initial movement here is to actually back off. Right, so he backs off, the dart gets shot. Okay, straight away. Before it even pings anything, the dart gets shot. So he backs off. Then, he probably doesn't even know this, to be honest, but NRG have put that smoke there. He then decides to come back towards long, as you will see just here. And he actually only has a ghost in this round. They've gone for a bit of an FPX type buy with him only getting a ghost, which obviously against a force, this is how you punish that kind of buy, is you force into them, right? And Trex here, if this smoke isn't here, he's just very dead. So he comes across, and then he's going to try and get this ult up. Now, I don't really understand. And as I said, he had a really good series overall, but this was just a crazy, crazy decision, right? Because even if these guys hadn't forced and they've got classics, you've only got a ghost, and this dart got destroyed, and you don't know what's going on here, right? Like, again, and this is the thing, right? There's no reason why they can't all be in this smoke. Even if they had classics, you're probably pretty dead here when he taps and tries to get this orb, and he's all alone still. Bit of a weird one, and ultimately they just spam him through the smoke and they get a free kill. And so yeah, we end up in a 5v4 straight away. Now, we did only lose a ghost, so it's not the end of the world, right? But now obviously we put a bit more pressure on these players coming in onto site. Wolfen does have a rifle back here in hell, but as we can see, he gets stunned just here. A Sova dart's going to come in here. He's going to get revealed as well, so he ends up in a lot of trouble, as you will see. You're going to see him, he gets flashed as well. He dashes away there but can't really go anywhere. He's jumping around. And he does actually manage to get the first kill. He actually does manage to hold it down there on Artist, but ultimately now on low health, still just in the back of hell, he is going to actually die here to FNS, and they start scaling onto site, and now we're in a 4v3, and these Stingers, are still pretty good, at close range. They're the exact same at close range, and so, at these ranges, yeah, NRG managed to win the round, and goes to show that, yeah, forcing, I think, is still viable. It's not, this terrible thing that you can't do anymore, particularly if you plant that spike, right? You've got a ton of util to work with. If they are going for a more aggressive buy with, light shields and rifles and stuff like that, your Stingers will still decimate them quite often at those close ranges. So a really nice round by NRG, and they proved that forcing is still a viable option. And now let's come to round number 7. And in this round, we're going to see an interesting setup by Koi. And in fact, we're only going to look at the first 12 rounds of this game, because in those first 12 rounds alone, it was a crazy half of Valorant. Some crazy good, some crazy bad. We're going to be mostly talking about the bad of Koi. They're going to look worse in this video than they probably actually played. So if you are from Koi, I'm very sorry, but, we just have to talk about it. They're going to go for this C push, absolutely fine, right? You're going to get Breach Stun, Omen Flash, Sova Dart down there, and, Jet Dash, and they're going to get aggressive on C. Unfortunately for them, NRG are just going to do the exact opposite, where they're just going to get very aggressive on A and go for a quick A hit. And so they read it right, and as you can see, we've got a very passive Killjoy setup here, right? Just the turret and Nano Swarm on the default plant. So we're playing pretty much for a retake A. That's not the end of the world, though, because we have Killjoy ult, right? And so, we have a good option there to go and retake on this A site. And you can pretty much tell by the way the NRG play that they figured that that's pretty much what they're going to do, right? So in come NRG, as I said, pretty quickly. They come in onto this A site. They even shock the default box, right? Because they kind of know, yeah, they're playing for this retake. So, there's going to be a nanoswarm on the default plant. So heads up from Crashies there. Some even plants in a kind of a non-default position because they have a Sova ult as well, right? So he doesn't want to get Sova ulted. But here's the thing. We're actually not going to use this Killjoy ult from Shados. In fact, Shados doesn't use this Killjoy ult the entire half. He just dies with it. He saves it for the next game. Because essentially, you know, they just figured, hey, I'm not going to use it. And I saw a lot of people in chat as well. Oh, well, he's not using it because they have the Sova ult. Now, here's some of the problems with that kind of logic, right? As I said, we didn't even end up using this Killjoy ult in the entire half. We just didn't have an ult. And Crashies actually, funnily enough, didn't use his either. He's just going to hold it and wait, right? But at any point, Crashies can use his, you know, if they need it in the end of a post plant and things have gone wrong, you know, Crashies has his as kind of a last resort option for any post plant, right? Whereas you are just saving it, waiting for Crashies to get to that point, you know, which isn't a great position to be in. And the thing is, if you're not going to use your ult in this kind of situation, then why are you playing like this kind of round, you know, where this is the obvious way to use your ult, right? Like, this looked like our plan for this A site is we are going to use our Killjoy lockdown. And I understand, putting the Killjoy lockdown in kind of the normal spot just here, against a Sova ult from a Sova in here, is pretty bad, because this ult is going to come down there, and that's normally where a lot of players are going to be, and you're going to get destroyed, most likely, and the Killjoy lockdown's not going to do anything, right? So, I understand, that's not great. But you can put it in other weird spots, right? And in fact, Shados is coming back to heaven. And at first, when Shados, you know, starts to come up here, I'm like, oh my god, this is big brain, right? He's gonna put the ult in some, you know, random spot in heaven. And yeah, sure, it's not gonna be the best Killjoy lockdown in the world, but Crashies is gonna have to, you know, try and destroy it. You know, even if you put it all the way back here, you know, it does mean they can't be in hell. It does mean they can't be in this corner, right? It probably is going to push them back to the kind of edge of the site. It does clear corners for you. And if Crashies wants to, you know, ult like this spot, you know, he's not going to catch any other players with that ult, right? And crucially as well, if Crashies is busy ulting, he's obviously going to do it from a safe space somewhere down here or in here, right? If he's going to be ulting from all the way back here, he's just out of the round, right? Whilst that's all going off, you can then just do your normal retake on top of that, and he's just not in the round anymore. And you're just in a 5v4 for whilst that period is going on, right? Just guaranteed. And so that's the thing. You can still find value from these ults. Even if the ult itself is just going to get destroyed, you trade an ult for an ult, but you can still find value from that as the defenders in this scenario. Instead, we're just going to go for a normal retake, not use it in a round where, you know, our plan surely had to be. And look, even the threat of this ult does get the nanoswarms here, you know, for the normal spot. But again, if we just used it in a different spot, we've wasted 2 nanoswarms. We'll probably waste one of their ults as well, right? Trade an ult for an ult. And also, if it does go off, you know, we will clear some of these corners and push them back, right? It'll create some pressure on them in terms of where they actually want to be. Instead, what happens is we get Artist pretty much just mopping up. He does really well with these jet knives. And yeah, they ultimately are going to save here. Koi, and we'll talk about them saving in just a second. But ultimately, NRG would manage to win this round. And now let's come to the very next round, round number 8. And in this one, I have some problems with this round as well from Koi. It starts off with this interesting trap setup, okay? And I like the general idea of this trap setup, because if you watched my video about the M81, where they, you know, giga-brained the round and they figured out it was a trap setup and just absolutely destroyed it, this is a different one, right? Where instead of stunning down here, which is the kind of normal short trap setup, instead we're going to stun down here with the breach, which is a bit different. You know, I can't really remember a team doing this, right? And so it would have worked. The problem with this trap setup is, well, there's kind of a couple problems. One is that Starkso has to be in this kind of awkward position here, right, to actually make this stun work, which, you know, isn't ideal. You know, it means that someone else basically has to come and shepherd this B site for him to make sure he doesn't die. The second problem is, and I don't know if this is just Shados missed this alarm bot or if the map is lying to me, but this alarm bot looks very, very close to the, you know, the edge of this choke point, to where surely I'm guessing the alarm bot is the signal for this stun to come out. But if it is, then what's stopping someone just running forward and just killing you, right? It seems very close. And I don't know if this is the map lying to me or if this is Shados just missed an alarm bot or whatnot. I really don't know. But surely this would be better off, you know, if we put it in there, right? If we put an alarm bot in here, yeah, they're either going to tuck into this corner where we've got a nanoswarm, you know, and they're not going to be close enough to you to where you can swing. Like, it just seems a bit better. I don't know if you missed it or if the map's lying, but either way, that wasn't great. But This round, in fact, they do actually start to come to B. You see Starkso has to kind of react. He's like, oh my god, run away. They ultimately back out of that, right? The smoke comes in from Koi, and ultimately NRG will come back, and they're actually going to come to this C site. But the thing is, because we kind of had so much focus on B there, kind of early on, it means that Wolfen's ended up in this spot, which is, you know, not a great spot for an operator player, right? Where you're having to look down two different directions. He does actually manage to make this work pretty well, Wolfen, and this isn't like a disaster of a setup or whatever. It's just a bit harder for Wolfen to, you know, make this work. But he does make it work, and actually they end up in a pretty good spot here, Koi, after they manage to get this first kill there on Artis, and Wolfen and Coldamented, they both manage to escape, and we end up in this 5v4 C retake, absolutely fine, feeling really good. And the thing is, they want to go for a fast retake, right? So Crashies just taps the spike. He's going to start planting the spike, and you often see these fast retakes in pro games, and the idea is, right, if Crashies is planting the spike, he doesn't have a gun, right? So they're basically a player down for this brief window when they're planting the spike. So you see Wolfen, he's just going to put a jet smoke just down there, and he's ready to run in, right? We're going to send in the flashes, we're going to send in a dart, all of that. We're going to run in whilst this guy's planting the spike, and we're just going to destroy them, right? That's the idea. The problem is, he's got an operator. And so you'll see he has this hesitation moment of, oh, I'm not going in because I've got an op. Let me swap guns instead. But that swapping of guns and that slight delay means that Crashies is going to get the spike down fully. And we get time to throw in this nano swarm here as well. Right? So yeah, the util starts to come in from Koi. And look, this isn't like a disaster. It just goes to show like how kind of fine the margins can be, right? Of little things like that. Wolfen dies. We just end up in a settled 4v4 where they've used a lot of their util and not got much from it, right? So we end up in this 4v4. Smoke is going to come down here from Som in just a second. FNS pushes up. Coldamented tries to swap his gun, but unfortunately, you know, he dies there. But we do get the trade. We end up in a 3v3 just here. But we need to keep note here of the time. Okay, keep an eye on the time down here at the bottom of the YouTube video, because what's going to happen is Koi are going to save. And I know what most of you are thinking. What are they doing? It's a 3v3. Yes, they don't have any util. I mean, neither do NRG, actually. Obviously, Koi don't know that. But yeah, they don't have any util. Some of these guys are on low health, although they are still above, you know, they're still 2 Vandal body shots rather than being just the 1. And so, yeah, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, they've got a Sovereign as well, right? Like, yeah, you're probably not likely to win this round. Thing is, they make this decision to save at around this point, right? This is when they start running back. So let's call this when the decision to save actually comes in, and they're only going to go backwards from this point. This happens at 29:10 in this YouTube VOD just here, okay? If we play this forward and we see, you know, what time this actually ends up at, because this is what I wanted to do. Right, I wanted to see when I was like in this round, I wanted to see, well, okay, how long did they actually have in this round, right? How long did they actually have to do this retake? Was it, you know, not that long, or you know, did they have enough time? And ultimately, what you'll see is that by the time that this spike actually goes off, you know, you're going to see here that the spike is going to go off about this point just there. So that's at 29:37. That is 27 seconds from the time that they decided to save to the spike actually going off. Now, you have to account for the time that they actually have to defuse the spike as well. But that is more than enough time to win a 3v3. Like, more than enough time. And I know they wouldn't have been favored in this round, right? I get that. You know, they wouldn't have been in a great spot necessarily. But they had a chance. You know, these players that they've got. I mean, these players are good enough to win 1v3s in this scenario, let alone 3v3s. The decision to save here is just brutal. It's a brutal decision, to be honest. And ultimately, I think that they kind of just gave this one to NRG. And now let's come to round number 12. And you don't want to be giving NRG free rounds, because eventually they'll start just pulling your pants down like they did here to Koi in this last round. This is going to look just like a full C exec, right? We get the drone coming down early, but the spike is with Som. Keep that in mind. So smokes come down. We're going to get the aftershock in here. Jet smoke, you know, stun down here, right? Just looks like a full C exec. We're going to get a Sovereign on the top just here as well in a second, I think. And so, yeah, looks like a full C exec, right? But it's actually not going to be. We're actually going to end up back over at A. And the thing is here, a lot of teams go for these kind of, you know, oh, we're going to go for like, you know, the jet dashing in here. But really, we're going on the other side of the map, guys. Haha, we're going to get a free plant. And I hate those rounds most of the time. Absolutely despise those rounds, because often what a lot of teams will do in those rounds is they will just like send in the jet with a couple smokes. The jet will die. And yeah, you'll get the other side, but you'll just be in a 4v5, right? What I like about what NRG did here is that, no, they committed to it, right? They gave Artis a chance here, right? They gave him a bunch of util to actually work with as well. It wasn't just, here's a couple smokes and dash in and hope you do well, right? We're going on the other side of the map. It was, we are going to support this, right? We're going to make, I mean, it could have been a C exec. You know, I mean, they could have just brought the spike here and they would have got it down as well. You know, and this looks like a full C exec, and Artis manages to get the first kill. And that's the real difference, you know, like, I hate those rounds where they just sacrifice a jet. It's just like a, you know, an Aztec sacrifice to the gods. I hate those rounds. I like this round a lot, right? Because they really do sell it. And not only do they sell it, they don't even put a killjoy lockdown in there as well, just to like even more sell it, right? But we're going to the other side of the map. An Artis, he finds his timing well, right? He finds the patience. Obviously, Koi have no idea what's going on at this point, right? They're just lost in the sauce, as you'll see in just a second. Poor Starkzo is going to end up being a bit of a meme. Managed to get that kill there. Victor's lurking around the other side as well. He managed to get 2 nice kills there. And poor Starkzo, you know, he still thinks this is a C hit. And look, the audio on LAN, you know, pros always talk about it, that it's, you know, not the same as playing as online. And it's not as good. And Starkzo's laughing about it, and you know he's just having a nice little giggle. He was still in a 1v4, right? But yeah, FNS there, just classic FNS. You know, big C hit, fake. Come back to A, walk in on A, get the spike down, get a couple lurks going as well, find those kills. Really, really nice stuff from NRG. They'd ultimately go on to win this game here, and I think, yeah, they looked pretty good. Obviously, I think both teams, you could still tell, had some, you know, teething problems, right? They're still getting used to each other and how they want to play. But on the whole, it was good by NRG, and they will go through.